All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level with their brands. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today, we're going to be getting into something quite interesting. If you're viewing this live, then go ahead and put your flames in the chat. And of course, let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, what's up?
Not much, Junior. I'm super excited to just dive right into today's topic because yesterday was fire. We just got into real life, pushing yourself and digging deep and being the best version of you. And today, I think it only makes sense. It only makes sense to follow this up with greatness and what it means to be great, what it means to have a great brand and all those different things. So before we get into the topic of today, that's just where I'm feeling. I'm feeling phenomenal, but I'm also feeling greatness, the aura.
Interesting. Greatness is a if I had to break down my life into different stages, around the middle part, so I would say between the ages of 14 to 21, greatness has been a reoccurring theme in my life, meaning that it's something that has always been on my mind. In fact, one of the first motivational speeches that I listened to was there's a speech by Muhammad Ali. I'm going to show you how great I am. Remember that?
Yeah.
Listen, I used to listen to that every single day, almost like drinking coffee as soon as I wake up. I'm going to show you how great I am. So I love this topic, Bobby. We're going to get into it, man. I have a lot to share when it comes to greatness, when it comes to belief in self, when it comes to community, when it comes to friends, when it comes to so many things as far as success is related. So I'm interested to see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, I am too, Junior, because a lot of us that are watching Breakfast with the Brand want to build businesses. We want to build phenomenal businesses that take our families to the next level, that take our lives to the next level. We want to be in real life where we imagine ourselves to be in our minds. And the only way we can achieve that is by achieving greatness, because no one that's here, like that follows this channel, envisions themselves as mediocre. You don't see yourself as the bottom of the barrel, basement bargain. Like you see yourself as creme de la creme. Am I right? Like put a 1 in the chat if you watch this and you follow us because you see you as a very elite individual and you're working every day towards unlocking your potential. Like if that's you, you're in the right place. And that's most of the people that watch what we do here. So I'm interested to see where we go from the break, because I'm going to open us up with conscious decisions, right? Not consciousness in an esoteric sense, but conscious decisions, because that's exactly what everything is. Your brand, your greatness, it's all around the decisions that you make one day at a time.
There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you You can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, so welcome back. Today we're diving into the topic of greatness. Bobby, let's get into it, man.
Absolutely. So your brand should be great, right? It should be great. And when I think about great brands, I think about Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Kobe Bryant, Derek Jeter. I think about Nelson Mandela, other American heroes, and even non-American heroes. Like, a brand that is great is, I believe, a brand that does tough things during hard times. That's what I think makes a great brand or a great individual. Someone that does tough things during tough times. For example, Muhammad Ali is African American in a country at the time that was segregated to a degree. He's also becoming Muslim while there's a war going on, and he's being beaten down every single day, because Muhammad Ali was known for taking beatings, having an iron chin, but just being a beautiful boxer as well. He was known for moving around the ring, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, but he was also known for the rope-a-dope, like taking a beating on the ropes, having an iron chin, and just really rolling with the punches. So what I think made Ali so great, and what made his brand so great, it wasn't just what he did in the ring. It was that he was an advocate for his people. Okay, that was one thing that really stood out about Muhammad Ali. Those that know Muhammad Ali's story knows his first name was Cassius Clay. That was his birth name. He changes his name and he goes on this religious and spiritual awakening, and then refuses to fight in the war because he believed that that was not the war that his God had set out for him to fight. He was like, you guys are power hosing us on the streets, and you want me to go risk my life over in a country that I never met a guy? So he had this whole idea about, I don't care if you take my license away. I don't care if you take all my money away. I don't care if you try to call me by a name that I've changed. I'm still going to do the right thing. And you saw that with Michael Jordan when he played with the flu. You saw that with Kobe Bryant when he dislocates his finger in the middle of one of the biggest games ever. He goes over to the medical guy, gives him the look, and that guy snaps the finger back in place real time. And he shrugs it off, tapes it up, and goes and drops buckets. So I open up with this because I want you to think about what are you experiencing in your business that feels hard? That feels hard. It's difficult. You don't know if you can do it. I want you to know that the greats always get it done. The greats always get it done. That's what makes them great. So as I turn it to Junior, I wonder what his perspective is on the beginning of a great brand. I will end with this. I believe that my brand is being built on a great foundation. Every day I do tough things that require me to become a tougher person, because that's what the brand has to stand on.
This is absolutely beautiful, Bobby. When I think of great people, people like Ali, like the greats, and it's funny because I'm saying to myself, I'm just thinking, as you're going through this, I'm saying to myself, does success equal greatness? I would argue not necessarily.
Mhm.
Success is part of greatness, but success is not all of greatness. I think it was actually Mike Tyson. So his whole thing going around Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson. Floyd says he's the greatest boxer of all time. And Mike Tyson said Ali was the greatest boxer of all time because Ali could walk his kids to school.
Mm,
And Floyd needs to have a security team around him when he does.
right.
Ali doesn't need security to walk in the street. He didn't. So when I think about great people, the first thing that comes to mind, and we have greats that exist today, like today, and I could name several of them. But the number one thing, in my opinion, that makes somebody great is people who have conviction and then they stand up for what they believe in. So when you ask me the question, where does a great brand begin? A great brand begins with a conviction, but not just a conviction. You have to have the mental toughness to be able to stand up for what you believe in, even when the world apparently seems to be against you.
Hmm.
And I could name so many examples. And maybe you like them, maybe you don't. Some of them you may like, some of them you may hate. But it doesn't mean that they're not great. They're great to the people that support them. Okay? And I could name a couple brands. Maybe I'll name a couple later. Okay?
Nice.
But I know people today that are standing up. And if you know anybody, put it in the chat. If you know anybody today that is standing up for what they believe in, even if the entire world seems to be against them, to me, that's what really makes somebody great. So great doesn't mean like you have the most awards or you have the most whatever, you have the most money. The most money doesn't make you great. The most awards doesn't make you great. Like, what did you do for people? How did you impact people? What did you stand for? What did you represent? And when times got tough and when you were tested, did you fold or did you stand on your square, as they say? What did you do? And to me, that's where it really begins. But if you don't know where you're going as a brand, if you don't have any kind of conviction, there's no way you can be great. It doesn't matter how much money you make. In the song, Kendrick, if you're following social media and the internet, Kendrick had this whole thing going back and forth with Drake. Kendrick versus Drake. I don't know if you all follow that stuff, but it was everywhere. And then Kendrick in one of the things it says, once a lame, always a lame. So even if you have money, you just become a lame with money. You have to stand up for what you believe in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that to me, that's what makes somebody great. Yeah, like even when people like the world is against you, if you have a complete conviction about what you believe in and you're willing to stand up for that, and not just for yourself, but for other people, because it's going to impact people positively, to me, that makes you great in your own light.
Yeah. Yeah. And Junior, the reason I picked this topic today is because greatness is not something that happens overnight. Neither is your business. So I chose this topic because a lot of times we can get frustrated with how long it takes to become successful and how long it takes to become great, how long it takes to lose weight, how long it takes to get ripped, how long it takes to buy your first house. Like, no matter where you are, how long it takes to make your first six figures with a business that you've built with your own hands. I chose this topic, and Junior is supporting it with me because we always talk on the back. And we're like, hey, what are we going to talk about today? He's like, I said greatness. He's like, I like it. Let's go. And the reason we chose this topic was because you have an opportunity to be great every day. That's what it's all about. Is if you woke up today and you worked out when you didn't want to, because who wants to work out before the sun comes up? Let's say you don't get up before the sun comes up because it's the summer, sun's up by like 6 a.m. But let's say you're up at 6 a.m. and you work out. That's one brick of greatness that's been stacked on top of your. So what I love about being great and about the pursuit of greatness is it's very different than the pursuit of happiness. I think the pursuit of happiness is waking up every day trying to feel good about yourself. I think the pursuit of greatness is waking up every day and doing what you're convicted to do. That I love that word, Junior, conviction. I really do, because it's different than discipline. It's different than dedication. It's deep because it's moral and ethical to a degree, and everybody is convicted differently. Like what convicts me to work out may not convict Junior to work out, but discipline and consistency is what keeps us going. But it's the conviction that kind of gets us started. It's the conviction that makes us feel bad when we don't do it. Like discipline doesn't make me feel bad. It's the conviction and the commitment, and then me breaking that commitment to myself and me disobeying the conviction that creates the discomfort. So that's what I love about the pursuit of greatness. So as you're building your business right now, I'd love you to just take a step back and think about the bricks of greatness that you've laid instead of the money you've yet to be paid. It's coming. The money's on the way. Trust me. It's on the way. And even if you've made money, we all want more. Like if you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, it's never to be stagnant. It's always to be progressive and aggressive. So I know that you're probably making money. I know that you want more. I know that you're here for a reason, but don't take the bricks of greatness that you've laid for granted, because they are what build the legacy. What do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was Ali's legacy. Neither was Michael Jordan's legacy. Neither was Kendrick Lamar, for that matter, or Drake. Like all of these guys are giants. Now, if they fall in the category of greatness or not is another conversation. But the idea that your brand stands based on your conviction, character, and dedication to daily progress, I think that's really, really powerful. So before we go to the break, we got a little bit of time. We got a little bit of time. So there's one more point that I want to hit before turning it to Junior is make it real for yourself. Make it real for yourself. So I was thinking back to a conversation me and Junior had yesterday. We were talking about our heyday, our glory days of fitness. Now, obviously, we were younger then. We were in our early 20s. Our teenage years. So we're clearly recovering faster, metabolism's faster, all that good stuff. But now we're early 30s or becoming 30s. So it's like, all right, we're fathers, we're husbands. Like things have changed. But as we thought about it, we were like, how can we get that back? Who was that person that we were at that stage in time? And so I was thinking about that, as I'm walking through the house, and I'm just like trying to get the edge back. Like, what did I have back then that I'm not executing on now? And what came to my mind was I had this decision in my mind at that time in my life. And the decision that I had made at that time in my life was to be the best, most athletic and effective Marine that I could be. And what I did under that guise, like under that mindset, was executed every physical activity with grit, tenacity, endurance, and commitment, like all these different things, honor and courage. And I just crushed every task. So what that led me to think about and put me back in the mind frame of was decisions. So as I turn it over to Junior, one thing I want you guys to think about is, have you decided to build a great brand? Or are you just looking to make money? So those are two different things. You'll make the money, and that's good. Like even if you make money with a business, that's good too. But deciding to be a great brand that makes money and impacts communities, that's a decision that has to be made. What do you think about this so far, Jimmy?
Hmm. Bobby, while you were speaking out, I'm having flashbacks to like 12 years ago. I'm having flashbacks to like 12 years ago. And I'm saying to myself, bro, if you met me like 12, 14 years ago and you said to me that I was not great, listen, I would argue with you that I was great. I would argue, I'll tell you, listen, and then when I ask myself, like, what was it about me back then? Like you say, how can you get back to that mental state? Like, it's a belief, but it's deeper than a belief. It's an actual visceral feeling. Like you can feel when you're great, and I don't mean like an emotional. Well, yeah, it is emotional, but it's more than it's almost like an actual physical feeling. You can feel it in your bones. But here's the interesting part. Trying to nail that down, like trying to define that, Bobby, is so difficult because it's something that really cannot be said. It can only be felt. But if I had to try to put it into words, I would say it comes down to a contrarian belief that despite everything around you, despite the appearance of things, the vision that you see in your mind for yourself is true. So, in other words, you may be in a situation where you may not have access to all the resources. Most of us didn't start off with any resources. Like we didn't start off with any like rich uncles and that daddies like the Rockefellers and stuff like that. We didn't start off that way. We started with the basics. We started with the basics. So having that sort of contrarian belief that despite what the world appears to be around me, I have something inside me that is more than whatever is around me. Listen, you couldn't tell me anything, nothing. Abs- I would laugh at you, Bobby, literally, and it wouldn't be from like some people they like faking it. It would literally, I would laugh at you. I would think you had a problem. I think you need to be checked into like a mental something. If you told me I wasn't great, for real.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I felt. That's just how I felt about myself.
Yeah.
But check this out. When you're around the I would say not around the wrong people, but you're not around the right people. Sometimes that can get taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
That can get taken away from you. Because sometimes when you're around people that don't necessarily see what you see, like they cannot see it, they don't have your perspective, they don't have your context, your perspective, your view or your outlook on life and just in general, if you get around four people that don't have conviction, you end up becoming the fifth one. We are products of our environment. So I would say it is so interesting and it is so important to protect that contrarian belief in yourself by putting yourself around the right community and putting yourself around the right people. Because literally that could get taken away from you. I woke up sometime like a year ago and I had a flashback to the same moment I'm talking about. I said to myself, what changed along the way? And then I went back to an exact moment, Bobby, an exact, like literally like a cutscene in a movie where I was standing. It was we were in college and I was standing in a balcony, and we were on like a hill. Like my school was on a hill, so I could see like in the islands we have a lot of hills and mountains and stuff like that. It's not like flat like New York and these places. I could see everywhere. I could see like the coast of the island. I could see like the edges of the island. Like we were so high. So I'm just looking down and I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna be, who I'm gonna be, what I'll end up doing 10 years. I'm just thinking, right? And one of the people that were my friends at that time, I shared a little bit of that with them. And then they basically like shut that down. They're like, what are you talking about? You know, stop playing, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And yeah, right. And it was like just a little games. Like I don't think they meant it in a like purposeful trying to bring you down kind of way. That wasn't what it was. It was just like innocent, you know. But in that moment, something happened in that moment. And let me tell you what it was. I believed them.
Mm. Wow.
I believe them. And when you believe, like when you start, it's almost like when you get into like sales, right? You get on the phone enough times, somebody like people keep telling you your stuff is expensive. Eventually you start to believe it. Like, hold on, is this so expensive? So when you have your dreams and your visions and your goals and your aspirations and you're around the wrong people or you're not around the right people, when you start to tell people these things, they start to like little by little, they start to chip away at it. And what can happen is you could end up believing them. And the moment you believe them, Bobby, is the moment you've lost that thing.
That's right.
The moment you believe, bro, it's just like Neo in the Matrix. When Morpheus says, like they're on the building and Morpheus says, Neo, jump. Okay?
That's
Or
right.
they said to Neo, I think he was doing something and he had to walk across like the air or something like that. He started walking, but the moment he lost the belief, he fell.
Mm-hmm.
The moment he lost the belief, when he jumped, he fell. So it's just like greatness. Like the moment you believe, like the external world, okay? From the moment you stop living in the internal world, you start existing and living primarily in the external world, and you start to believe the people around you and the people that don't see your vision and you're around the wrong community, you fall.
You
And if
know,
you're not conscious, bro, you never get that back. I woke up, listen, I believe that, Bobby, and I came back to that moment 10, like more than 10 years later. I believe that for more than 10 years. Listen to what I'm saying. Like the moment you forget that or the moment you take that, because we have so many beliefs, bro. And it's not only about like business, we have so many beliefs that don't serve us that we don't know where they came from. Like if you had to audit your beliefs right now, guys, like if you had to write down everything you believe in on a piece of paper and you had to ask yourself, like, where did this belief come from? You'd be surprised. Most of these beliefs come from people who don't have your best interest at heart or who don't see what you see. Yet you unconsciously move and you believe them and you live life that way. And, if you want to get back that spark, if you want to be great, you have to me, audit your beliefs, throw out the ones that don't serve you, and if necessary, create a contrarian or even delusional belief about yourself so that you can be great and you could step into that sweet zone of greatness.
man, that's powerful, Junior. I've got several things that I want to say when we get back from the break. Several. That was a clinic, and it was so smooth. So when we come back, we're going to dive into some examples of greatness. We're going to dive into values and what I mean by that, and some of the Marine Corps beliefs that were instilled in me that have made me very, very different from various of my people that I grew up with.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. I said Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
All right, guys, so we are back and we're talking about greatness. If you've enjoyed this conversation so far, go ahead and put some flames in the comments and just share this with like one other person who you know might benefit from this conversation as well. Bobby,
Yes.
I believe you had a couple things, to say before we went to the break.
No, definitely, Junior, definitely. And I just want to remind the viewers, guys, this is about your brand. Don't lose sight of that for a second. Greatness is you, and what do we say here? You are the brand. Brand you, not what you do. So by becoming great or embodying greatness, what you're really doing is ensuring that your business is an extension of yourself. And if yourself is great and you hold a standard of greatness, then it is very difficult for your business to be anything other than a direct reflection of yourself, right? So that's why this greatness conversation, I think, is so powerful for entrepreneurs. So some of the things that I wrote down while Junior was speaking was some memories for myself, some flashbacks. And I remember I used to live what's called a fasted lifestyle. Like when I say fasted lifestyle, every week I would fast on Wednesdays. 24-hour fast on Wednesdays. And then every now and then I would do like a 72-hour fast and a like 48-hour fast, 30. Like I just fast all the time, like every week. It was very rare that I would go a week without fasting. And I would fast and pray during these times. And it was very, very consistent. Now, the reason I share this is because greatness begins with thinking. You have to think great thoughts before you can do great things. And the reason I would fast so regularly was so that I could think clearly. And when I would think these great thoughts, I would then imagine what it takes to execute this, like to make this possible. And then I would start doing the tough things that it's required. And here's the trick that I wanted to point out is if you first think great thoughts and you do what Junior said, you believe in yourself and you believe it's possible. And then you start taking action, much like Neo did, and you start moving towards greatness and doing difficult things, something often happens. At least it did for me. I got addicted to doing hard things. Like if I didn't do something difficult, I felt off. I felt strange. Like if I tried to eat on a Wednesday, I wouldn't eat because it felt off. So the reason I'm sharing this is because your body, your mind, and every other part of you adapts to the new standard. So I think another important component of being great and having a great brand is having a standard of greatness and then holding yourself to the standard long enough for it to become a lifestyle. Now, I don't fast as much as I did back then, but I fast differently. Now I do intermittent fasting. Back then I was doing intermittent fasting plus no food fasting. I'm getting myself back there because I think that it was beneficial. I'm noticing now that there were some things that I was able to combat on the day-to-day basis because I had that level of fasted clarity. So as I move to this value stacking conversation, I want to ask you guys to ask yourself this question. What difficult thing have you done already? It's 8:42. Most people haven't done anything hard yet, but maybe you have. If you have, what next difficult thing do you have to do? Is it going to be done by 10, 11, 12? How many difficult things do you do in one day? And how fast do you do them? Now, the reason I ask this question is to bring you guys back to something that has benefited my life tremendously. And that's the United States Marine Corps. And I want to give you guys tools to help your greatness mindset. Like these are just, and a lot of service members watch us too. So these are just tools for your toolbox. So one of the things that the Marine Corps does, especially in boot camp, is the first thing we do is we wake up at the crack of dawn. That's already hard. because you're tired. You've been working, crushing it, shooting, running, gunning, you're tired, and you're up at 4 a.m. A hard thing already out the way. The second hard thing you do is you make your bed to specification. So you have to have the corners right, you have to have this right, you have to have that right. And if your bed isn't made properly, that drill instructor is going to do their due diligence and turn that bed over and make you do it again. The next thing you have to do is get online and get dressed before the drill instructor gets to zero. That's another hard thing because you're dressing yourself as fast as humanly possible and you're probably not even thinking while you're moving. The next hard thing that you do is you get to the shower, you get to the head, or the bathroom is what we call it, the head. You shave, you brush your teeth, you do all of these things in less time than most people take getting out of bed. Like to roll themselves out of bed, you've already gotten up, made the bed, brushed your teeth, shaved your face, got dressed, got back online, and it's only been about 30 minutes. A series of tough things in 30 minutes. And then we take this mantra with us throughout our military careers, and the mantra goes, do the hard things first. And if you do the hard things first and you stack a series of hard things on top of each other, I found that that's where the greatness lies. And as I turn it over to Junior, I want to reference one thing that I heard Alex Hormozy say, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. He said something to the tune of, I enjoy doing difficult things consistently over time because I know that no one else will follow me. Or he says something to the effect that it would be very difficult to follow me. So what he was pretty much saying is that the reason I go so hard and I do difficult things is because I know other people aren't going to do it. And if I do it consistently over time, Kobe Bryant had the same mindset. He was saying that I'll be leaps and bounds further than these individuals when they start to try to catch up. So greatness, I think, is also built on what you're willing to do that other people aren't. And this isn't a matter of competition. You know, you're competing with yourself, but I would be a hopeless romantic if I didn't say that greatness has a part to do with how competitive you are in your field.
There's two kinds of people, Bobby. There are people that there are people that do it because they have to, and there are people that do it because they want to. There are people that enjoy, staying the same, and there are people that enjoy the thrill of the adventure. There are people that enjoy the thrill of the hunt. Like, why do people hunt? Like, why do people who already have money wake up and try to make more money? It's not necessarily because they need more money. It's because they enjoy the thrill of the game. Now, I like what you said when you talk about doing tough things, because when I'm in that space, I do stuff just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do difficult things just to do it. It's like a game. It's like you've unlocked a new power. Like, I want you guys to imagine, what if tomorrow you woke up, everybody on the call, if tomorrow you woke up and you discover that you could fly, what would you do? Just put it in the chat. If tomorrow I woke up, Bobby, and I stepped outside and I noticed I was like walking on the air, like I could fly, you know what I would say? I would start to wonder. First I would fly around the yard. Then I would say, okay, I wonder if I could go up there across the road. If I made it across the road, then I would say, I wonder if I could go across town. Once I made it across town, once I'm standing on the beach, I would say, okay, there's another island over there. I wonder if I can go there. And then you keep pushing the boundaries of what you can do. Not because you have to, just because you want to. Just because you're curious. You're curious about what can you accomplish. And I think greatness exists in that space as well. In fact, all great people exist in that space. It's like, how fast can you run? How high can you climb? How many baskets can you make? Like the first person who started shooting like 1,000, like when, like imagine that was Jordan, right? Like 1,000 a day, or was it Kobe? One of them. I think it might have been Jordan, like shooting 1,000 shots every day. Like when you really think about it, you must have had like a delusional belief, like some kind of delusional belief. Like, I wonder if I could shoot 1,000 baskets in a day.
Hmm.
When I told a story yesterday about the 100 muscle ups, that's sort of what I was thinking. I wonder if I could do 100 muscle ups. I didn't. Did I know? No, I didn't know. I just wanted to see. I wanted to test myself. And I think you get to that space eventually once you start going, especially in the gym. Like sometimes I'll just do crazy things just to see if I can do them. It's not necessarily because I have to, it's because I want to, just to see what I can do. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I'm like that. So when you talk about competition, competing against yourself is a real thing. And I think greatness exists, and there is an addiction towards doing tough things just for the sake of doing them. But it's also because there's a pleasure, there's a certain pleasure that you get from knowing that you can do something. And I think it is embedded in all people. Like if you think back a couple hundred years ago, a couple thousand years ago, why did people, go out? Like if I'm ruling the world, right? If I'm like this big conqueror and I have all of Europe, let's just say I have all of Europe, why would I go to America? Just to do it. There's no reason for me to come on the move from the east to the west. I just do it just to do it. It's like I already have here. Why not go over there? And I think people that have that sort of greatness inside of them, it's like I made it to seven figures. Wow, can I get to eight? I made it to eight. Why can't I get to nine? I made it to nine. Why can't I get to 10? So it's a sort of curiosity, and there's a pleasure that you get from doing tough things that makes you feel good about yourself. And I think once you get into that space, it's a different mindset, Bobby. It's a different mindset and it's a shift in words, like from I have to do something to I get to do something.
Hmm.
You don't have to make 100 calls. You get to make 100 calls. You don't have to do seven figures. You get to do seven figures. You don't have to do anything. You get to do something. Once you start to shift your language and the way that you speak to yourself, I think the mindset starts to change around because now it's not a chore. Now it's a game. And once it's a game, it becomes exciting. It becomes different. It just becomes something that you enjoy. And as a result, you do harder things. And the harder the things you do, the more competent, capable, and powerful you become. And I think that's very, very important, especially when you look at great people. Great people do stuff that other people, it's almost like if you look at the Red Bull normally has these stunts. The guys do it just to do it. They do it to see how far they can push themselves.
Hmm.
And that's sort of what I'm talking about. Like embracing that kind of greatness in whatever you do, whether it's business, whether it's speaking, whether it's coaching, whether it's sales. Like just see what you can do, see what your potential is. Just keep pushing the limit, pushing the bar, and just seeing where you land.
Yeah. One of the things that I wrote down was a memory. I remember when I was doing a challenge that we were doing together. We were working out really hard. I had a 100-day challenge ahead of us. We just had a lot of work cut out for us. And it was so painful that I had to tell myself something to get me through it. And the reason I'm going to share this with you is because sometimes you have to redefine your experience. Sometimes you have to redefine your experience. So in the Marine Corps, I would say pain is weakness leaving the body. And that's what they would teach us. And it helped, when you're working out and you're feeling the pain, you're like, okay, this is just weakness getting out of me. Now, when I got out of the military and I was doing this for business, it was a different kind of pain. So then I had to say, pain is the beginning or pain precedes discovery. That was my new 3-word mantra. Pain precedes discovery. So every time I felt pain, my brain started to trigger me to think, you're about to discover something new. You're about to unlock a new level. So in this instance, I went looking for the pain, guys. Like instead of running for the pain, I was like, what new thing am I going to discover about myself today? And I would go to the gym and I would run. If I'm on the treadmill, I'm like, okay, I'm about to feel the pain. How much pain can I take? What am I about to discover today? And then I would just go until I found out. And then I did that on the bench, like on the bench press. I did that on the leg press. I did it everywhere. And if you take that mentality into your business and into your life, I think you'll find the same thing. I'm very confident you will, because on the other side of pain, if you keep pushing, is another level of what I call genius. And the reason I call it genius is because I think there's different types of intelligence. There is cellular intelligence, like the molecules, the cells in our body, like they think on their own, like they are intelligent in and of themselves. And then there is our intelligence, like cognitive intelligence, where you're thinking and you've got IQ and stuff like that. I think when you're pushing through and you're doing something difficult and you've gone beyond what you can consciously and cognitively process, you get into a different level of intelligence. You get to a level of intelligence where you're moving instinctively and instinctually. And it's like you're not even thinking anymore. It's like you're getting wisdom and insights from a system, your body, that's literally a billion years old. Like the human race isn't that old, but the cells that make it up and that have been compounding for billions of years, they're that old. So it's like you get to that point where you're just like, yo, who am I? But the interesting thing is once you get there, because we're conscious, we can say, whoa, I did it once, I can do it again. And that's why I think pain is so important. Because if you go through the pain and you experience this discovery process and you become now aware of your new limitation, then you have no excuse for sustaining that new standard. And I think that's just a powerful part of being great.
Yes, sir. Guys, you're going to go to like a 1-minute break and we'll be right back.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a 0 to the world, but you'll also add a 0 to your revenue. Let's grow.
All right, guys. So we're back. Bobby, this has been a very interesting conversation, man. You've taken me back almost like 15 years. Taking me back, brother. But this is amazing, guys. If you found value from this, put a number 1 in the chat. If you found value from this talk, we're about to wrap up. We have like 2 minutes left. If I could leave the audience with one thing, and while you were speaking, I wrote this down. I wrote down, if you do what is hard, life will be easy. If you do what is easy, life will be hard. Very, very simple. Like if you do what is hard, life will be easy. If you do what is easy, life will be hard. So what are you optimizing for? I had a conversation with someone yesterday and they asked me, Junior, what should I do? I said, well, what are you optimizing for? Are you optimizing for result A or are you optimizing for result B? So if you want to have not a necessarily easy life, but if you want to have a good life, you're gonna have to optimize for that, and that might mean doing some tough things so that when challenges do come your way, you have an easy life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I would say. And I would say take a moment to think about greatness. Think about your greatness and how can you, if you're not in that space, how can you get back to that space? And if you're already in that space, how can you take it to another level? There's always another level. Like, so if you're yourself 1.0, how can you get to you 2.0? How can you get to you squared? If you use 2.0, how can you get to you 3.0? What does that version of you look like? So take some time to figure that out and then work towards that.
Wow. With the last 60 seconds, if I had to leave them with one thing, I would say obey thyself. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're following this platform, this program, then I'm very confident that you are a high performer, someone of great character, someone of integrity. If you just do what you know you should do every single day, and that's harder than it sounds, right? Many of you all know that, then you will live a really good life. And I think that's one of the biggest things we just don't do is we hear that still small voice and we ignore it. Oh, we've got so much life going on that it's louder than our own convictions. But if you obey yourself and, like, you're true to you, you can be false to no one else. And I think that everyone is great in their authentic right. The problem is we don't live authentically, and that's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. So this has been Breakfast with the Brand. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any queries, anything that you're interested in, if you're interested in taking your brand to the next level, learning the art of marketing, sales, closing, branding, you could reach out to me. You can reach out to Bobby, or you can reach out to Shaan on any social media platform, or just go to www.shaanrais.com and just take a look, just browse, see what we have available. And by the way, if you see something and if you're thinking about doing something, then just take action. Listen, Bobby, nowadays when I have conversations with people, I just tell them, like, straight up, are you an excuse maker or are you an action taker?
That's right.
Are you an excuse maker or are you an action taker? A lot of people tell me, Junior, I need to think about it. I say, no problem. So then I say, do you want success now or do you want success later? If you want success now, then you don't need to think about it. You need to take action. Action takers are money makers. People that want success later are excuse makers. There's never a right time to do anything, literally. It's not possible. It's physically, it's like by laws of physics, it's just not possible because life is just too complicated and there are too many layers. That means that now is always the right time to do something. So if you're not an excuse maker, if you're an action taker, go ahead, book a call with one of us, and let's help you to take that action. If you're an excuse maker and I can't help you, I'm sorry. Bobby, 2024 and beyond, I'm only working with action takers. I don't have time for excuse makers. I just don't. We
That's right.
want action takers. We want people who are interested in moving the ball forward. And if that's you, take action. Go to www.shaanrais.com, book a call, and let's get your brand going. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you on Monday. Have a phenomenal weekend. Stay safe, okay? Stay sound, and let's grow.